right, welcome back to the program, and thank you so much for staying with us. We promised you that on this other side of the break, we have a lot that we have lined up for you. So let's kickstart our first interview of the day. It's all about money this morning. Do you know what money is? Do you know its value, its worth? And do you know what it can do to change your life? Do you even know the basics about how to spend your money? Some people have been turned into slaves because of the money that they have and because of what they think is not enough and the desires that they have. And most of the time we've had this common saying, the love for money is the root of all evil. And you've seen the farthest extents that that particular desire has taken people. So today it's all about helping you understand the money aspect of your life and how you can be able to know how to control it, not the other way around. So stay with me beginning right now all the way till the end of this particular conversation. I'm hosting this morning a great person that I will be telling you about. His name is Otieno Paul Peter. He's a motivational speaker and a personal development trainer and many more that I'll be telling you about. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Safin.
All right, so we're here today to talk about money. And first of all, before that, I'm looking at your journey, your career path, and I'm trying to find how you ended up in this particular field, talking to people about life skills and talking to people about basic things that really nobody is teaching us in our classrooms when we are going through the education system, things like money, for example. And I'm trying to find out where all this began. Looking at you, you've trained as a physicist, you're an engineer by profession, and that is where one would think your life path was taking you. But then you ended up, having passion for life skills, and you have authored a book, 7 Days of Living Your Dream, and you have even started an organization, Live Your Dream Enterprises, and this is all about helping people be better. Tell me a bit about, is it a transition or is it a coming together of two different worlds in one?
That's a nice question. Most people ask me that. So.
Yeah, how does an engineer begin,
You see, there is nothing that happened to me by accident. I chose that path. When I was coming to the university, I had choices. My secondary school teachers chose for me BCom. They chose for me several other, those other courses that perhaps would have rhymed better with this. But that wasn't me. I chose physics. And my journey with personal development dates back to my childhood. I used to observe the way we grew up. And my dad was a school teacher, and he had the same problem with money. We borrowed almost everything. In fact, he would send me to borrow for him a stick of cigarette. And that's the last I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
at that young age,
I kept wondering whether life would be like this. You borrow everything, then at the end of the month, you say you're going to pay at the end of the month. But then end of the month comes and you are not able to pay some of them. And this, he also ended up indulging in alcohol. At that point, I did not have meaning for life, and I really did not want to live long. I observed from some of my neighbors, and one of them, because at home, everyone is a relative. Now, I saw them working the whole day, working hard in the farms and collecting firewood, fetching sugarcane, going to the market, selling, coming, eating everything. They have good supper and waiting for the next day. And I kept wondering, what if they are sick someday? And sure enough, they were sick someday, and it was terrible. I did not have any taste for life. I would just imagine, what is life about? Is it just about working and eating and that's it?
Just today.
So my thinking was probed at that level.
Okay.
Doing class 8, I saw that most of the people with whom I was in class dropped out of school, and most of them were fees, and some of them had been repeating several times. And it bothered me. What is this money thing? Apparently, I started getting ignited about money in class 6 when they brought in the subject of business education. Nowadays, they don't teach such things.
Yeah.
They became too clever. Now, business education was, there was a definition of money, and it got exciting. How can somebody start asking me what is money? And I did my first business in class 6, and I wanted to know how to make money, and apparently I learned how to make money. It was like an art in me, and even
Which
today.
school were you in? Because where
I was in a
we are
primary
not
school.
taught how
I was
to
in a
make
primary.
money at
These
class
things.
6.
No, yeah, you see, you probably schooled well after me. I schooled long time ago.
I'm wondering at class 6.
I schooled
Which school
I
is
schooled
this?
in the original 844, not the adulterated version.
The edited
Now,
version.
after that, I wondered, how come, because there must be some people with money, how come some people tend to have money, others don't? And that was my inspiration. I wanted to come up with an idea, or at least find the reasons, and somewhat share with people, or ultimately put them in a
At
book.
that young age, you had
And-
already
yes, I'd
decided
already,
this is where you
yes,
want to
that
give
was
your
my
focus.
passion.
Okay.
And that inquisitiveness led me to studying everything I could.
Okay.
I wanted to understand how things work. I wanted to understand how planes work.
Okay.
How radios work. I'm in home, I'm in Kindu Bay, and somebody, listening to radio, you hear somebody saying KBC Nairobi. Then, how do we listen to it in this
To this
thing?
person.
And my mom at one point told me, you see, those people are in the wires. And it took me ages. Why do you listen
To
to
know
people
how
in a
people
wire?
exist
You see,
within the wires,
so
yeah.
it was my curiosity. And that's why when after studying lots of these things, when I reached the university, I still had a passion for learning about things in life. And one of my mentors, a cousin of mine, told me, in order to understand all these things you want to understand, you may need to study electronics.
Okay.
And I knew I was not qualified to do electronics engineering, which was a good thing. Today, I understand why it was a good thing, because that is a very narrow subject. You do engineering, you understand very little about life. So physics was the best choice for me.
It opened a wider
It opened
perspective
everything, because
about
physics
issues.
has everything.
Issues of
Philosophy,
life.
leadership, all these things.
Okay.
You only need to know how to relate them. And so all these things, I chose them, and I am actually where I want to be. I am
And you
living
say
my
you are
dream.
living your dream.
Yeah, I'm where
You
I
know how
want
many
to be.
people actually, so many years down the line, are still feeling like whatever life they are living is not the it. They still feel like they do not belong, like this is not the it for them. And here you are saying you're living your dream.
That's one question I ask everybody. Did you do this course because somebody chose it for you, or
you
chose
really
it?
wanted?
No, I chose my courses. Most people, it's JAB.
All right.
Then our time it was JAB, Joint Admission Board. Nowadays it's something I've not understood very well. KU
CCP,
something, COOPS, whatever.
COOPS, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into our conversation. Today we want to talk about money, something that is part of what you're passionate about. And in your book, you've captured that subject very well. You know, giving people some sort of pointers in terms of understanding this whole aspect about money. But let's begin by what is happening currently in our country. There seems to be that pressure that many people are terming that is caused by the high cost of living. And every other person is saying, you know, the economic situation is not very good. And the working class is complaining, the business people are complaining. Every other person has an opinion on what is happening economically speaking. And especially the fact that there was that VAT conversation just the other day. I don't know, from where you sit, where do you think the pressure is coming from?
The pressure is coming from the mind.
There is nothing that is expensive. Like, seriously, life is not expensive.
No, life should,
just if you look at it realistically.
Life has always been expensive. And it cannot be any less expensive, apparently. You see, a cup of tea in Nairobi, depending on where you take it, can range from maybe 50 all the way to 500 shillings.
Yes.
Now, the same, go to another country. Maybe just go to Joburg. You'll be surprised. It's much, much higher. Go to New
Than
York.
here.
You see? So if we are tending towards that direction, it only follows that our cost of living must follow the same direction.
Yes, if you want to be that level.
So there is nothing new under the sun. All these things, they are predictable. You can always know that later, at some point in time, we are going to buy fuel at 200 shillings maybe. Unless perhaps some miracle happens, we change the energy system, we change to solar, electricity, whatever. Things move like that. So pressure...
So you're saying, you know, this graph is
it's
always going to go up.
It's always
There's
up.
no hope
Okay.
for...
At what price did you buy bread when you were young?
That was below 10 shillings. It
Yeah.
was playing around 10 shillings.
Yeah, today it's
12
50, whatever, something. Yeah. You see, it's
Okay.
the same bread. So the question is not whether things will go up.
they are always
that
going
one we
to
know
go up.
it will go up. Fees, my secondary school, the small secondary school I went to, we paid 3,000 shillings for a term. Now that's unimaginable. I don't think they do that today.
No, that's just
Is it?
for,
So
for
life
ID
moves
card
like
or
that.
something.
The
Nowadays
idea is, are we
high.
mentally prepared for it? So it will always go up.
Okay.
Pressure is in the mind and in our upbringing.
Okay, but then again, if the graph is always going to go up, I'm sure there has to be something that is also happening. It's like a weighing scale.
Yeah.
You know, there has to be something that is happening on this other side that is making us at least be at par with the trends and what is happening. Do you think we missed the point in us preparing ourselves for that higher, you know, cost of living? What is happening?
True. Academics doesn't prepare us for life, apparently, and very unfortunately. The name for my organization, Live Your Dream, was invented out of that. Because you come, you graduate, and you feel like life is going to be really exciting. But it turns out not to be. Why? Because there are elements that we left out that were very critical in building us. But nobody put them into the syllabus, and perhaps nobody is going to do that because the people who teach in school are also not equipped to themselves. And so there are these elements that we must understand in order to be able to achieve that which we envisioned. And that is what I call living your dream. And so that's part of what has been covered in this book, if you notice. Those elements that if we don't get them right, it doesn't matter whether we are first-class materials, we end up failing.
Among the 70s.
We end up losing our emotional confidence and everything. We get depressed, we commit suicide.
The 70s of living a dream in 70s.
So money management is part of them.
Okay.
Apparently, I learned this also after going through the cycle. I did many businesses and I went through money. I made money, I lost money, and I started wondering, I could also be doing something wrong. And then I started learning about money. And I realized, apparently, money is a very sensitive subject, a very emotional subject, and it has its own rules, its own laws. No professor is going to teach you about
teach you this. But then again, you can give us a few tips. Let's talk about money. Let's understand. You've captured something to do with, I don't know whether we should start from the sources or let's begin by talking about what money is. Many people think money is something I get to take care of my needs, my bills, the things that I require. That is what many people think, and that is why many people wake up in the morning to go to work or go to business and do something to get something at the end of the day so that they can be able to meet their financial obligations. Is that what the
one I was taught, that money is anything in common use and generally accepted as a medium of exchange of goods and services.
Okay.
That's what they taught me in class 6.
Is that what it is for you today?
Yes, it is, because it's a general, it's a medium of exchange. We use it to buy things.
Okay.
And
that applies.
I think maybe the definition is not a big deal. The big deal is, do we know or do we understand how to make money?
Okay.
And I learned that there are two sources of money. We can divide them into two.
All right.
There is many people do not know what income is. But in order to understand money, you need to first understand income. And income may be salary, income may be a gift, whatever, all that. But where is our income? We can have two types of income.
Yes.
Passive, which nobody talks about, very few, if any, and active income. When we are being prepared along the journey, we are taught about active income and nobody calls it active income. Active income means you're here, you expect some salary. I go do some training, they pay me, and all that. Active income is this which my neighbor used to do, going to work in the farms
expecting
and getting money, getting wages at the end, or going to labor, selling things, selling firewood, and getting some money. Active income. And that's what many people do. And they expect to be at some point, if very few people think about financial freedom, it's a subject I like, but they expect to be comfortable. just doing that. But it is as long as you still keep giving that value, you still keep doing that service.
Once that is not there?
As long as you're healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it is a business, as long
Yes,
as you're
you're there,
If
as
it is a
long-
service that you're offering,
Yes.
as long as you can be
Yes.
able to offer.
Yes.
If it's a job,
the
as long as
moment
you can be able
it's
to deliver.
the moment you stop
Then
doing the
that source
service,
of income
end of
is cut
story.
out.
Now that's what makes it active.
Okay.
It's a good thing, and it's where all of us must start. But there is also the passive, which is, it now comes from your own assets, from your own investments. And many people don't think about it. And the other question is, many people would ask you, how do I invest? And that's where these many people walking around, financial analysts, investors, whatever, all those, those people come from.
Yeah.
Because somewhat they've understood something, most of them from insurance, they've understood something that they may think, they think you may want to know.
Okay.
Most of it may not necessarily be true, because people will tell you save money, whatever. By the way, I'm not a saver, unfortunately. And talking about money does not mean necessarily that I'm already there. I'm on my journey to financial freedom.
Learning. Okay.
I'm on my journey. I've learned, and I
okay.
keep learning, but at least I'm
You are
on
not
track.
there.
I'm where I want. I'm
You're
where I
supposed
want
to be
to be. I'm heading to where I'm where I'm supposed to be going. The idea is the concept about saving is you must be intelligent even in your saving. They say poor people take money to the bank for the rich people to come and take it out. So poor people save. Rich people borrow.
Invest.
Yes, why? They borrow wisely. They don't borrow to buy a TV.
Okay.
They
Let me
borrow
take
to
you
invest.
back. I feel like you're moving too fast.
Yeah.
Let me take you back to passive income.
Yes.
Talk to us about passive income.
That's what we are talking about. Yeah. So passive income means some investment of yours is paying you, whether you're there or not there.
Maybe.
And you can go for holiday, but you still earn something.
Okay.
And you can start small. That's the big problem. Many people want to start big. They think big, which is not a crime. Thinking big is good, but get to know that thinking big, you must. Somebody asked, how do you eat an elephant? It is just bit by bit. It's a big goal, but we do it bit by bit, and grow there. So we must learn how to have a passive income, a passive source of income that even when we are now unable to work, when we are retrenched or when we retire, some people wait until they reach retirement age, then they ask for a few more years so that they can finish a particular project and maybe they're just building. So our concept of income, our concept of passive income or investment becomes distorted. Some people think if I buy a house, that could be a source of investment. Well, it is. The question is, do you earn from that house or do you spend in that house? So always you check. Anything you're buying, is it going to earn me money?
Or I'm going
to spend money.
But the fundamental thing is, as an individual, you're supposed to have both active income and passive income.
Yeah. Over time, your income from active source should be smaller than your income from passive source.
So you're supposed to weigh these two until you, as you live your life, as you move into this journey of financial freedom, you're sort of trying to transform yourself from you're fully dependent
to a free person.
You're dependent on your active income to passive income.
If you divide your if you have two columns, you have income, active, passive.
What
so
do you mean
start
slave?
checking.
So people who depend on the active income are slaves.
You see, like there is a quote I've put here. There is a quote I've put here. Between you and your money, somebody is a slave and somebody is a master. The question is, who is that? You either you're employed by your money or your money or you've employed your money.
How does that work?
So the question is, which side do you belong? And you always want to be the master. I learned something very critical I learned from very unfamiliar sources. There is a friend of mine who didn't even go to class 8. I think he reached class 6 or something. At one point he told me, you see, many people get controlled by their money. I can't get controlled by my money. What is in my pocket, it is there. It's me to choose when to spend it and when not to spend it. And that was a great thing, a great wisdom from somebody who many people may think this is an uneducated guy. And he seems to be doing well. And when I was growing up, my dad would tell me, these are not people you need to relate with. They are not even going to school. But I've kept such friendship.
Because there is something you
because
learn from them.
the people you talk to and you realize there is something you're getting.
They have.
You're learning something. Yeah.
Let me ask you, I'm still interested in this balance between
Yes.
active income and passive income. Many people would complain that whatever they're earning in the active income may not be enough or may not enable them to venture into projects and financial gains and all those big dreams that people have. So what's the secret? How can you transform from just being fully dependent on active income and going that direction of making sure that a larger percentage of your income is coming from the passive?
Great.
When your income is very
It's
minimal,
very tiny,
and it's never even enough for your needs. Right now, you're looking for food, you're looking for bills and all that.
Good.
How do you go that journey?
One of the things they taught me when they introduced me to money a long time ago in class 6 is human needs are insatiable. As you grow the ladder, many people look unto you. I know you receive calls every other time or SMSs about somebody is arrested, somebody's somebody's wife is sick, whatever, all sorts of things. So you've got to know which is good expenditure, which is not necessary expense. And many of us spend money emotionally. One is because of shame. Recently I was with another doctor and he was receiving calls, somebody bombarding him with calls about he had some particular project which was running into problems, and he was feeling like, you see, my God, if I don't send him money, he will blackmail me. He said, no, it's not necessary. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. So one, we must check, what are we spending on? Because no matter how much we earn, we can always get use for that money. And we will, somebody asked me, you see, somebody earns 20,000, somebody earns 2 million. By the end of the month, they are all equal. Everyone is zero.
Forget about that example. I've always wondered, let's look at the same individual. Maybe in one job position, they are earning 20,000. They get promoted, they are given a salary raise, 30,000. They get promoted or something else comes up and they start earning 60,000 or 80,000, and it goes and goes. But it is still never enough.
So the question is,
you ask yourself,
when will it be enough? It won't. So we must understand, it won't. Number two, now we are done with the expenses. We will never have enough to cater for all the expenses. We must know what type of life we want to deal with and how much will I use for charity. Usually recommended 10%. Charity, depending whether you are religious or not religious.
So what is charity?
Everybody.
These people who depend on
you? You are helping. Somebody is in the hospital, you are helping some education fund. You have something for charity that you can give. It's recommended 10%. You can put it according to your wish. If you are Bill Gates, you can give more because you probably need have more to give than what you need. Two is increase your capacity to earn. This was a big lesson I learned. Increase your capacity to earn. Now that's a big thing. Many people don't understand that. What they do, in order to get money to have enough to spare, which is not very easy, they will go to their employer to give them a raise. I've been here 2 years. I'm still earning the same thing. The question is, are you now doing are you now doing anything more than what you were doing 2 years ago? So increase your capacity to earn. That is, increase your value in the marketplace. You can increase your value to the extent that people keep poaching you because they want to pay you better money. It means you're working on yourself than you work on your job. You see, that's what we call personal development. At the beginning of the year, everyone prays that life is going to be better. The question is, are they better? So life can only be better if you get better. So increase your capacity to
work on yourself.
Yes, work on yourself, become better. If you are doing programming, are you now better in programming, or have you grown to your leadership level so you are able to work with more people? No, those are the soft skills that we talk about. You grow in the marketplace, you grow your value in the marketplace by being able to give more in the marketplace. So learn something extra. Well, you are dealing in a particular trade. Maybe you're selling oil. Can't you also learn something else about that oil that you can do? Stop gambling. There are lots of things that have to do with gambling. Probably you're a farmer, a good thing. The question is, you are not in charge of seasons, you're not in charge of lots of other things. So besides farming, you
What
can
else?
do something else. And that increases your capacity to earn. Caution yourself from, or cushion as they say it, from these disasters that can
Financial
happen.
shock.
So build streams of income. I usually envision it as a river. Coming from this stream, joining together at some point. We call them tributaries. Joining together at some point, and then it's a mighty river. I've learned, I've seen books that talk about focus, which is a good thing. You focus on one thing and become good at it. Then somebody relieved me from that yoke. And this is a very unfamiliar person. This is Trump, Donald Trump.
No, he is a familiar person.
No, you see, many people don't expect him to be teaching people.
Familiar in terms of...
To be teaching people, but he's a good teacher, one of the best teachers. And he wrote a book, I think they wrote it with Kiyosaki, Why We Want You to Be Rich. And he said, that is taking focus too far. And then he was giving an example. I build golf courses. I am a builder. But then I also run beauty pageant, Miss what. I also tried to own a football club. He also runs a TV show, whatever. He said, well,
Doing
you
so
have
many
many
things.
gifts. Don't just limit yourself to just one thing. Well, focus on it and build it, but that does not mean you are oblivious to any other opportunity that's there. So let's do things. Money, you will make more money after work than you make during work time. It depends on your homework, as somebody puts it. What do you do?
So build your capacity to earn
And
more.
increase your capacity to
Increase
earn.
your capacity to earn more. And
Yes.
also build a very healthy spending culture.
Yes,
I want you to tell me a bit about when you earn your money, when you have it, what are you supposed to do as a first thing? How do you calculate yourself, making sure that you have enough for this, enough for that? And what are some of the priorities when it comes to spending money and where people make mistakes, aside from too much
Great.
charity and emotional spending?
If you check in the book, you notice that I put money under the subject of discipline. It means it is a discipline.
Yeah, and you said something about not living beyond 70% of your income.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I want you
usually
to
say
make it,
it's recommended not to do that. Why? Because you can distort it depending on your level.
Okay.
At some point, your 10% is bigger than what you need in a month. So ordinarily, 70% is good. You must calibrate. You must come up with your own system of how you're going to spend your money. You can say, 20% I'll spend on education. Many people don't do education. What they do is, after they graduate, end of the story. Yeah, so they don't. Yeah, so they don't even increase their capacity to earn. You can say that 10% I'll always invest.
So going back to class is one way of building your...
Well, not necessarily going back to lectures. It's a good thing, but some of the most successful people financially are not necessarily PhD in finance.
Yes.
Yeah, some of the people with PhD in finance, you may expect them to have a lot of money, but they don't. So it's not just academics, it's learning
It's
all
wide,
around.
yeah.
Buying a book, listening to a lecture, going to some extra training,
Or
learn something
conference.
unrelated. Yeah. Get to know about your business, about your trade, see how you can grow. So you can choose, how much am I going to spend on education? How much am I going to spend on upkeep? Yes, you want to buy an extra earring, you work in a shop. Do you have some money for those things that you like doing, impulse buying? So we must budget, so to speak. I don't like using necessarily the word budget, but I must know, if I know my income, like people who earn at the end of the month, then they should know that this is the bit I can use to help people. You cannot use your money for food in the house to help people. That God said you love your neighbors yourself. That's where we go wrong, because we misinterpret.
But
we take all the money to the pastor.
But there's an emergency.
Yes,
This
it's an
person really
emergency.
needs
It's
help.
their emergency.
Not yours.
Yeah. By the end of the day, what will you do? You can't, because food is a basic need.
Yes,
you must eat.
for you.
So you
Yeah.
must learn not to spend emotionally. Learn to spend with logics. The other thing, after you've calibrated, this one I'll invest and things like that. Now, as they usually say, this is very correct.
You have to have
Choose.
a portion for investment
Yes,
as well.
I was taught, again, by an uncle of mine. I adore him so much, and I've quoted him many times. He told me, if somebody comes to you asking you, what should I do with my money? That's an idiot. Don't listen to them. Don't advise them. Because when they fail, they'll come back to you and say, you're the one who told me. So have a priori, have beforehand what you're going to use your money in investing in. So that when you get money, it goes there. You don't wait, spend, and see what is left. You invest in it first. If you have a project at home, for example, maybe or maybe in Kitengela, wherever you are building, maybe you're building something, and you know, you already have a quote, you know, this one is going to take this amount of sand, this amount of cement, whatever. From your little income, don't wait until you have maybe 10 million to build it. There is a portion that can straight go there, or at least you can use it to multiply that money, to multiply the income, which is a good thing you need to learn. Let's say you only have 1,000. Somebody says, but I only have 1,000. If it is 10%, maybe they are getting 10,000. I only have 1,000. Maybe I can squeeze. That's a good thing.
For saving.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Remember, I was discussing this again with some people, and I said, remember at some point you are not getting that 10,000 and you are living. So meaning you can still live on less. So just take this 1,000 and what if you had somewhere you can even buy chicken? By the end of the year, maybe this chicken will be having chicks and they'll be growing. Instead of leaving your money in the bank, it will be the same, if not less. I'm not pro leaving money in the bank. then find something. Like you can buy a bag of you can buy nails, for example. They don't get rotten. Yeah, their prices may go up, maybe. So at least you have some. So keep them. Over time, you have enough to put into your project. I'm on to this idea of that little you have. Don't just let it idle there. Let it do something for you. What if you are coming from where people can buy goats? Just buy and give a friend of mine. I have some. I left to that friend of mine. Take care of them for me. They'll be gladly willing to do that. Maybe you gave them 2 goats. You end up with 5 goats. You can leave for them 1. Yeah? At least it will be bigger than if you just put it idle there.
It reminds me of that story of the people who were given in the Bible. They were given.
They were given. They called them talents.
Took it to the.
That's one thing I love. Let me explain my thinking. Remember, this is what the pastors don't say.
Yeah.
And I'm not a pastor, and I'm not going to be one. I think so, but I love them. I love them anyway. This is what they say. They don't say that each was given according to his ability, his own ability. How did they choose? How did the master choose? This is 1, this is 2, this is 5. He said, each according to his ability. So you must increase your ability to earn.
So that you give it more. Wow.
And then this guy who came with 10, he was given more because he has a bigger ability. If we stop working on our ability, end of story.
We'll always get 1.
The other thing is, this guy was told, this guy who was given the list, now get the word of the master. He told him, if you couldn't do anything else, like many of us can't, why couldn't you even put it in a bank? Meaning that is the last resort. Meaning that is
it is still
the last
option,
resort.
But
it's still an option. But it's the last resort. It would bring in some interest. It would not multiply it. Like the guy with 2 brought 4, the guy with 5 brought 10. But at least it will be 1 point something. So why do we choose this option of the lazy guy? Because he called him lazy, by the way, if you read that text. You lazy and slothful, whatever, someone. Why couldn't we even think of putting it with the bankers? You see?
Okay.
Look for how to multiply it.
I've always known that story, but I've never looked at it in that wider perspective. In terms of, increasing your ability to earn, you're given more depending on your ability. So it actually gels very well with what you're sharing with us this morning. And let's talk about saving. For somebody who feels like when you want to build this positive culture of saving, there are people who are really struggling with this. Every year, at the beginning of the year, we say this year I'm going to start to save. But then somewhere along the line, you're off the track and you start giving up. Many people say we never have enough to save. Some would say, I save, but I don't really know why I'm saving. You're just keeping your money somewhere for something. What are some of the principles that are supposed to guide you in building a positive saving culture?
Well, again, that's a beautiful question. It's one of those things that people grapple with. Point to note, why are you saving? Yeah, I've seen people save, buy TV. Now they are happy. You know, people do not know what it means to be wealthy. Instead, people want to look wealthy.
Doesn't it mean having a big house? And,
so people think being wealthy means you have symbols of wealth. I have a car. You've saved 3 years, and then you added with a bank loan and you bought a car. So you're rich. You're poor. What will determine whether you're wealthy is, are you able to live on your assets? Are you able to live on your passive income? And that goes to the first question.
Back to,
where is the source of your income? Are you, whenever you're spending, are you spending on something that will earn you, that will relieve you from slavery, or you're spending on things that will make you work harder? People do this. They get promoted, and then they feel like, well, they were living in Pangani. Now Pangani is not my level. Yeah, people like me now live in Kileleshwa. Or they go to Westlands, Parklands. Yeah, they move there. So because income grew, now my expenditure on rent has to follow suit. Why? Because we follow peers. My peers, Safin lives here.
But then again, isn't it? It's a way of.
So we stop being ourselves.
You congratulate yourself a bit and say,
which is the wrong thing.
Let me change my life question is, let me buy a few things.
So let me tell you what will happen. You've increased everything. You've even increased the restaurants now you go to. And the translation is, you must work harder to fit into this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you still become a slave of your work.
In that class
what if you just started something else that would bring you something extra, just 1,000 in a month? What would that mean? That would mean something big for you. Now you are becoming freer because at least you have an extra
income that's coming in.
That is coming in, and that could be passive income. What if somebody told me he went to Kibera and bought these Mkebe houses and now started renting. Maybe, and it worked for him. They would pay him, and then he built a kiosk there and somebody pays him. Now this person is much better than somebody whom, if your salary will miss once, God forbid, you are retrenched. End of story. I've seen people being retrenched because I've worked before. And you wake up having a job, you go to work, you go back home, no job. So.
And you'd be surprised how many people suffer depression because of that.
Because
you don't know
they are not mentally prepared.
Yeah.
Recently, I listened to some people who are retired, the retirees we call them, and they say our biggest source of stress. We were discussing stress. Our biggest source of stress is the little income that we have, because now we are forced to live on less than a quarter, and that's what I started envisioning back at home in my childhood. That some people say, oh, when I was working, I used to live well. I used to help these people go to school. Now they can't help me. You are not helping people to help you. You're not taking your children to school to take care of you. You're not investing in your children. You're investing in them in education so that they become independent. They do not become a parasite to you. You must take care of your own self. So, good, take them to school, whatever, but also take care of yourself. When you are growing, when you are now unable to work, what will happen? Can you plan to retire even much earlier so that you leave some space for some other young people to come in? Yeah? Instead of going, I see people at 45, they are still making their CVs. And you wonder, could something be amiss? You see? So, build your sources of income. Increase your capacity to earn. Learn something. Learn how to multiply your income. And then be cautious about how you spend. And then also be prepared for disasters. I don't mean you save for a rainy day, as some people save. Because what you expect, you get. Going back to your question about how
No, but
do we
then
maintain
again,
this discipline?
some financial advisors would say it's good to save, have some kitty somewhere for the rainy days.
Yeah, and
Like
rainy day will surely
have
come.
money that will sustain you for 6 months.
What they don't know,
In case your
Yeah.
sources of income are all blocked.
Yeah, it's a
Always
good
have
thing.
some money for even 3 or 6 months.
it's a good thing. What they don't know is the law of life, law of expectation. What you expect, you get. If you keep walking and thinking about, one day I can be mugged in this route, one day I'll be mugged, you'll be mugged, I can assure you that we can sign.
That it will happen.
Yes, it will happen. So don't save for a rainy day. And that's why I
Plan
asked,
for
what
that.
are you saving for? Save to invest so that you increase your capacity to earn.
So that there is no rainy
Yes,
day.
there is no rainy day in the first place.
Okay.
And I was talking about taking care of predictable disasters. Like you can be sick someday. That's where insurance, health insurance comes in. It could be the only insurance I've understood most. I've never understood these other ones. I've been told many times, but it doesn't make monetary sense for me. But I understand the health one. That's where you take care of your health. Oh, some other person somewhere takes in NHIF. Because one day you're sick and you expect Paul to send you money, and I may not be having that disposable income. So will you die? If you die, don't think that God will judge me. By the way, this is one thing that people need to know. Let me
But
quote
then-
for you again from
but
the
then,
same Bible.
you know,
Let
Paul,
me,
this
yeah,
is
before you
Africa.
tell me that is African.
This is Africa. I called you and I needed help. I wanted to go to hospital. You never sent me money.
Yeah, it's
You know?
good. It's good. One, don't fear being judged. As long as you're right and your conscience is clear, you don't have it. Two, now let me take you to that Bible that they quote, and Kenyans are good religious people, Christians. There is a story of these 10 virgins, and 5 of them are claimed to be wise, and 5 claimed to be foolish. Now, the allegation is that these other people did not carry oil enough, and these other wise ones had oil. And then, when the time came, the big time,
The groom and
these other people realized that we don't have oil. Why can't you help us with a bit? Now, what would a Christian do?
you,
You divide for
you
them,
help,
right?
yes.
No, but then these are wise, and that's the term we are told. And so they told them, we do not have enough for both of us. What does that mean? Now remember, this is coming from Jesus. So we must be wise. At another point, Jesus says, if you are so well formed about dealing with your fellow human beings, how come you don't understand these other facts that are obvious? It doesn't mean love your neighbor as yourself means you love your neighbor more than yourself. Take care of yourself so that you can love yourself, then love your neighbor. So take care of a rainy day, take care of your health. It is the biggest investment. I was taught by that same uncle of mine. He told me, he asked me, and it's captured somewhere in the book, what are the basic could
You
be
know,
prevented?
and lifestyle diseases,
Yes.
or this or that,
Yes.
or and there are people who have a lot of money, and some diseases have even been branded for the rich.
Yes.
You've heard about that?
Yeah,
You know, these
remember,
diseases
they are for the rich, but
the
they also
rich.
get the poor, apparently.
Yeah.
I've learned that the poor also get diabetes and cancer. How? Because of the same eating habits and things like that. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah,
It's a
we may
lifestyle,
not talk about
and
it
it's something we can change. But it still affects our income. Take care of your health. If you don't take care of your health, you are doomed. Yeah, you better stay healthy than get sick and say the doctor knows it all. Doctors don't know it all.
At what point, at what stage in life are you supposed to start that journey to financial freedom? Because there are people who are not even in employment, they don't have any source of income. So they really do not know how to start this money conversation and money journey.
The world
How
is
do you-
very rich.
yeah.
The world is very rich. Everyone has capacity to earn. The question is, do they stimulate their mind to earn? Let me tell you, this concept of employment is facade. It's man-made. Originally, it wasn't there. It's something that came in later. Much
What do
later
you
in
mean
life.
unemployment is our own doing?
No, employment. The question
Oh,
of employment
employment.
wasn't there before.
Okay, okay.
People were employing themselves from the time,
Okay.
from the times of the beginning. Let me give you an example. I told you I did my first business in class 6. I wasn't employed.
What were you selling, by the way?
And my problem was simple. I was in class 6 and everyone was buying things, candies, whatever, sugar cane. And I was the only one who didn't have anything. So I asked another relative, as I told you, everyone at home is a relative. And it was a friend. And he told me, I asked him, where do you get your money? He told me, you see, my debtors pay me back. Now that's a nice response. Your debtors, where did you get the money in the first place to give them?
To give them.
And then I figured out I must find a way to make money. Now, because they taught us, they'd introduced us to the subject of business education, I wanted to get money to start business. And I learned also sources of capital and things like that. So I raised some capital. I told myself, I'm going to burn charcoal. The first and the only time I told myself it's going to be once, I'll never do this thing again. And I did that. I got 2 debes. I was young. 2 debes, one I gave the family to use. The second one I sold. It was just 40 bob. So I used 40 bob to start my business.
Okay.
And I just bought some bananas, ripened them and sold. And then it expanded. I realized, by the way, I realized that you can start in one field, but you end up even in another. It expands. And I had enough to buy things in school and to buy myself clothes and to buy shoes for the first time and even to buy some for my mom. I was happy. And it worked for me. So I know it's not a question of employment. At every stage in my life, I've always learned how to make money at that stage. The question is, are we pressed enough? You see, in Nairobi, I think there is a lot of money going around. Yesterday, when we were back home with my wife, this is what happened. Some boy came with this thing for the deaf. They write whatever, lots of things about some school for the deaf. And then she was telling me, I've always seen this boy here. We were walking, one day because of traffic, I stopped and asked him something. I made a sign, but I realized he was able to talk. Then he started saying that, oh, he collects money for some organization somewhere in whichever part of the country, not even his own. And then we concluded that that is also part of making money.
It's his way of, of making money.
So money, when it is the way you grow up. You grow up that you are always given, you always look for it. And that's the way we grow up our children. We give them, we give them, we give them. They want, we don't teach them how to earn. We teach them that you borrow, you ask for it. So they raise their expenditure column with zero income. You see, so it is the way we are brought up. We can always create money. Some of the people who employ people are not employed. In fact, they've never been employed. When I was growing up, I kept hearing about company, working for which company. Then I kept wondering, now who makes these companies? Are they made by God? You see, those are the troubles I was going through as I was growing up. Then I later learned that, by the way, companies are just built by human beings. And I said, I would want to own someday.
Someday. Yeah. So live your dream enterprise.
It's a company.
How did you get to finally decide to start this journey into entrepreneurship? And you know,
what happened was the same thing, problem of money. I was saying, if you are pressed enough, you will think creativity. When I was in school, I learned something from a book called The Burdens by John Roganda. He said, poverty is the best incentive to creativity. And it still rings true. When you're poor enough and you're going through problems enough and you have a little brain, you'll be able to convert something into an enterprise. When I came to Nairobi, I keep telling people I didn't come to study. Studying was the reason I was given permission to come to Nairobi. Yeah, and at least I knew where I was going to be. I was going to be in the university. But I was coming to set up an enterprise. That was my mission. And the moment I landed in Nairobi, I started thinking, what can I do? I was in college. I'm registering in college. But I knew I'm not going to get any pocket money from anybody because I don't know about pocket money. I've never been given. I was not going to get any support. So how am I going to survive? But I always had a positive mindset. As long as there are people, I will find something to do and people will pay me money. So I managed to run businesses within campus. I wasn't able, the same reason for money. I told you I've made money, I've lost it. I lived well. Many people did not even know my background. They thought I'm one of these guys coming from very affluent families, not knowing that I've been homeless for many years. So coming out of college, I had not learned the ways of money. I did not have money, and I was forced to go to employment. But I told myself, I'm not really a typical person to wait for end of the month. I'm used to earning money, so I must find a way. And I told myself, well, I may not have a way right now because it was like in an emergency, as you say.
Yes.
I've got to clear from campus.
Yes.
So I've got to get something to do, and I got into employment. I told myself, I'm not going to be there for 5 years. So 5 years in my mind was the maximum. I did not know what I was going to do else. But it was already in
your mind.
So getting out of that employment and starting to be in business was actually living my dream, part of living my dream. So it was already there from time immemorial. Remember, I started thinking about companies. I started thinking about... Most of us, most of from my region, are not well endowed because our parents are not money illiterate. Most of them are financially illiterate. As opposed to people from Central Province, I realize most of them are quite literate in
when
terms
it comes
of finance.
to finances, yeah.
Yes, the children are taught to go sell. Back at home,
a very young age.
Back at home,
By the
in
way,
the
that's
village,
true.
somebody, a pupil comes from school, and then you give him or her something to go sell. They say, why can't you sit and read? Yeah, it's a good thing to read, but you don't just read. You'll end up broke. You must learn to sell or read something extra.
So that you know how to, where
I
this
teach
money
my
is
children
coming
to
from.
sell.
Oh, okay.
They're young. I teach them to sell. Because I tell them, I teach finance to my children. I tell them, money only comes when you sell. So you are either selling your energy, like you are carrying for somebody a luggage to pay you, or you're selling your skill, you know how to do some craft, maybe you're a plumber, whatever, or you're selling a product, one of your products, you have something. But if you're not selling, or you're selling your time, you see, most of us sell our time because you log in when you come in. It is your presence, it's not your performance. And that's why at the end of the year you expect them to raise your money because you're still present anyway. So nothing much. But
but I liked what you said earlier about work on yourself more than the job. Because when you work on yourself and you improve yourself, automatically, even in your performance at work, you get better.
Yes.
You get better.
And when you get better,
everybody goes home smiling. Yeah, wow.
Yes.
I like how this whole thing is a cycle and it relates. But then again, tell us, are there any... Right now, in as much as you have all this information about money, do you still find yourself making financial mistakes, money mistakes, and what are those? What are the common money mistakes that people make and the ones that also touch on you individually?
Yes, one of the biggest, personally, I try to limit them as much as I can. I try not to spend on emotions just because somebody probed me and I've got to do it. I do it because I want to do it and willing to do it. The biggest mistake that people make is just spending to be seen. Yeah, you are probably in many wedding committees, and they know Safin is a TV presenter, media person, media personality.
So they always put an expectation.
Yes, she cannot give us 1,000. And what will happen?
Oh my
you
God!
Give 10.
Hey, let me look at my WhatsApp.
Cry. You're going to cry.
I'm listing all the groups right now.
Yeah, because you've given 10 which you didn't have. Yesterday, a brother of mine called me and told me, "You can even borrow somebody." I told him, "I don't do such things." Can borrow somebody to give me. I don't do such things.
Oh, so you borrow on their behalf?
Yes, many people borrow on your behalf. Oh, I have this, whatever. You
Please
go
borrow somewhere and help me.
Yeah. Another thing, and the Bible also says, another thing, guaranteeing people.
That
I'll be his or her guarantor. That's why I don't do
now
circle
I understand
things.
what you're saying.
Circle things. Why? Because at one point.
So somebody borrows and you say, in case anything happens, I'm here. You can.
And then
come
you
to
lose
me.
money. Why? Because they'll default most of the times.
Okay.
When you're borrowing people also money, when you're borrowing money, somebody tells you, by the way, when you have some money, more people will come to borrow you, to ask for that money, to invest, to whatever, all sorts of things. Don't do it. Do it if give people money you're expecting to lose. There are two beauties about that. One beauty is if they don't bring it back, at least they'll feel guilty, they won't come back again. So you've solved that problem. Two is if they will be able to, if they don't bring it back, at least you are still comfortable.
Yes.
The other thing is, if they bring it back, it will be a surprise to you and you'll be happy. So you'll keep a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, but then this will help you keep very healthy.
Yes, so
because many relationships are broken on that.
Yeah, borrow people what you are, you don't mind.
Somebody once advised me that you know you don't avoid this culture of always giving, especially your relative, that you're giving them money expecting that they'll return.
They'll not
it never works that way.
Yeah. And most of them even forget that they still owe you money. So don't borrow what you are not willing to lose. You'll be heartbroken. And remember, an unhealthy